We rode the Jordan Love roller coaster in preseason week 1. The offensive and defensive lines showed us something, plus reinforcements, and I mean big time reinforcements, are on the way to the Green Bay Packers. We talk about it all next.
You are Locked On Packers, your daily Green Bay Packers podcast. Part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
You are Locked On Packers, part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day. I'm Peter Bukowski, and I cover the Packers for The Leap, a newsletter I would love for you to subscribe to. You can follow me on Twitter, Peter_Bukowski. Follow the podcast on Twitter at Locked On Packers. Like us on Facebook. Subscribe to the podcast, iTunes, Spotify, Google Podcasts, wherever you find podcasts, you will find Locked On Packers, the #1 Packers podcast on the internet. And the show for fans who know what happened. They want to know why and how. We have an awesome show for you today because there is an absolute monster amount of stuff to talk about the preseason game and incredible news on the injury front from the Packers on Sunday as Elgton Jenkins, Big Bob Tonyan, and Christian Watson all activated off the physically unable to perform list. They are now practicing, and that means they are going to be back sooner rather than later. Today's episode brought to you by our friends at BetOnline. All of your gambling needs in one place. Props, odds, a lot more. BetOnline, where the game starts. Okay. I was trying to figure out, we talked about this a couple weeks ago and have talked about it for a couple weeks. Why is it we're not seeing Yosh Nijman playing right tackle? If David Bakhtiari, who presumably would be ahead of Elgton Jenkins in his recovery, since one of them tore their ACL less than 9 months ago and one of them tore their ACL 18 months ago, my assumption was David Bakhtiari would be closer to being ready than Elgton Jenkins. Now, of course, we don't know exactly what happened with the offseason surgery and where they are and what David Bakhtiari's situation is and all that stuff. So all of that is true. Elgton Jenkins being back fundamentally changes, I think, the way that we feel about this offensive line. And it has trickle-down effects all over. Let's start with the basis part of this, and that is, if Elgton Jenkins is your starting right tackle, and Matt LaFleur was very cagey about it, saying, I'm not going to rule him out on the left side, not going to rule him out on the right side, not going to rule him out at tight end. He's not going to play tight end. I can pretty safely tell you that. Then we know he's going to play right tackle. We know he's going to play right tackle. They telegraphed it. The interesting thing is Zach Tom, after the preseason game, we'll get to the offensive line's performance. He got some reps on Sunday at left guard for Jon Runyan Jr., which is a weird thing because JRJ, I thought, played really well in the preseason game. He seems like an established starter. I don't know why you'd be giving Zach Tom those reps over saying giving him some right guard reps, because that's the spot that seems far more up in the air. That's weird, and that's something that we're going to monitor moving forward. But if Elgton Jenkins is your right tackle, Josh Myers is your center, presumably Jon Runyan Jr. is one of your other starters, and Yosh Nijman is your left tackle. Even if Royce Newman is your right guard, you hope he's taken a step forward. They're going to have plenty of guys trying to fight for that spot with Jake Hansen and Sean Ryan and maybe Zach Tom all vying for some of those reps. Then you have a really nice group. Just putting Elgton Jenkins in there changes everything about how you feel about it, because Royce Newman was a failed rookie guard who's now being asked to move to tackle. Now you're moving Jake Hansen to guard, where he's never played in any sort of meaningful time. He's never played anywhere in any sort of meaningful time in the NFL. And so that is major in terms of the weaknesses that you have on your offensive line. Guys that are totally unproven. I mean, totally and completely unproven. Now, at least Royce Newman, if he's your starting right guard, he started a bunch of games for you last year. You hope he's taken the step. And Elgton Jenkins, we've seen play at a Pro Bowl caliber level at guard And at tackle, he was that last year at tackle, filling in for David Bakhtiari. And so then whenever you get David Bakhtiari back, then that is gravy for your offense. Now, presumably you're going to get him back at some point. But when is that going to be? We'll see. Okay, so big picture, though, with all these guys, and we'll dig into each individual one here quickly. But the only reason you do this now is these guys are going to be on the 53. Because if they're on the PUP, if they start the season on PUP, then they have to miss 4 games. So, but they're not counting on your roster, right? So the only reason to do this now is if these guys are going to be ready in the first 4 weeks of the season, and probably earlier than that, like first 2 weeks of the season. That is why you would do this, because otherwise you have the cushion there. These guys are going to play. They're going to have to carry these guys on the 53-man roster, and that means they're going to play sooner than later, assuming no setbacks. Getting out there, doing individual work, then they'll ramp up to, they'll be doing, the competitive one-on-one periods, then competitive team, that's full clearance, and then it's ready to go. Well, I think Christian Watson's return has impacts all over the roster. How does that impact the order of guys that we see? Juwan Winfrey, where does that slot him in? Sammy Watkins, where does that slot him in? These are questions that we'll get answers to in the coming weeks. But, how much are they going to do against the Saints? Probably very little. You almost wanted this to happen a week ago so that, they could get these extra Saints reps. But maybe by, the end of this week, they'll be able to go out and Elgton Jenkins probably won't play in the preseason. Big Bob Tonyan probably won't play in the preseason. But you'd like to get someone like Christian Watson some run, even if it's going to be with Jordan Love. And the Packers need Big Bob Tonyan to be out there because Tyler Davis was a disaster in the game. From the dropped interception, or the drop that turned into an interception, he missed a couple blocking assignments in key spots. He had a dreadful game. And Dominique Daphne is not healthy right now. Mercedes Lewis, Big Bob Tonyan, Josiah DeGuara, that's your big 3. If Tonyan is ready to go, that's a really good 3. They probably want a 4th for special teams. But if Tyler Davis is actually going to play for this offense, I think you're going to see that that's a problem. They like him. I don't quite understand why. Every coaching staff has these pet guys where it's like they stick with them a little too long. And in some cases, it's like starter caliber guys that the team seems to think are like good, but are not. And then in some cases, it's like, well, this guy probably shouldn't be on the roster, but he is. Well, that can be just as valuable real estate because you need guys on your roster that can actually help you win football games. Right now, I don't see where the evidence is that Tyler Davis can do that. Not having to rely on him makes your team better. So it is hard to overstate the impact of this return from all 3 players. I think the Watson piece is a little bit of gravy because Romeo Doubs has performed so well. Maybe this week we'll talk about the George Pickens narrative that's out there right now. Not going to deal with that today. But you're talking about 2 starters and a guy who is expected to play a lot of football for the Packers. We had not seen them in training camp. We did not know when we would see them. There was some reporting and some rumors and some speculation. Big Bob Tonyan would be back. We did not know what the timeline was for Christian Watson. And we did not know what the timeline was for Elgton Jenkins. Now, we were told the Christian Watson thing was not long-term, but that's not the same as he's going to be back next week. That's not the same as here he is, now he's on the field. And with Elgton Jenkins, we didn't know what to believe. You tear your ACL in, October, November, it's far from a given that week 1 is a possibility. And Elgton said on Sunday, he knew 2 weeks ago he'd be out there soon because he was like, I feel fine. I feel good. So he is an incredible physical specimen, it turns out. And that has huge impacts for this team. All right, we're going to talk about the preseason game. We're going to talk about Jordan Love, the offensive line, the defensive line, all that good stuff in just a second. But before we do, let's talk about our friends at BetterHelp. There are curveballs life can throw at you. And I just had one. And some are good, some are bad. Some are anxiety inducing. Some are incredible. And sometimes you don't know how to deal with, oh my gosh, this is amazing. I need to know how to deal with that. Or you have a loss. Sometimes it's really nice to just have someone to talk to. You don't even have to be going through anything in particular. Sometimes you just like to check in with someone who's not going to judge you, someone who's going to tend to your needs. And they're not listening, just waiting for you to stop talking so that then they can jump in their conversation. No, they're listening to what you're saying because they're there to help. That's why it's called BetterHelp. It's not a crisis line. It's not self-help. We're talking about professional therapy done securely online, available to people worldwide. You can log into your account anytime and send a message to your therapist, schedule weekly or phone sessions so you don't have to be on camera if you don't want to be. With therapy, it can take a few tries to find the right fit for you. BetterHelp makes it easy and free of charge. They have therapists you can change, not a problem. It's more affordable than traditional offline therapy, and financial aid is available. Visit the website to read their testimonials that are posted daily, and they have a special offer for our listeners. Get 10% off the first month at betterhelp.com/lockedon. That's 10% off the first month of online therapy at betterhelp.com/lockedon. Let's talk about Jordan Love. Before we talk about the actual on-field stuff, Jordan Love has become a bit of a Rorschach test. You see what you want to see. And I will admit to my own biases on that. I don't know how to account for them. I try and be as objective as I can be. But that's the thing about subconscious bias, is it just seeps into your evaluation. So I try and watch a play and I go, okay, if I were just watching any quarterback, how would I evaluate it? I think there are people who come with it. They have agendas they want to push. Sure, I would like to be right about my evaluation of Jordan Love, which was different than a lot of people's. I didn't love the pick when it was made, by the way. Let's not forget that. Let's not act like I'm, that I love Jordan Love. But I do live on Jordan Love Island. I think he can be a very good football player. But I have to be honest with what I'm seeing. At least I try to be as honest as I can be. And I had a good back and forth with Zach Cruz from the Packers Wire, our friend. And he was insisting that Love made a bad read on a play. I watched the play in question about 15 times. And I think I'm right. I think I'm looking at it the way that I would look at any other play. I think I see something. He thinks he sees something. We both are coming to it with preconceived notions. And there are some people who do this in a more profound way than other people. There are some people who have just decided Jordan Love sucks. And that's the thing is I see people saying that. Just admit it. Jordan Love sucks. Jordan Love sucks. We have very little information on what Jordan Love is at this point. To make any sort of sweeping distinctions about what he is or isn't at this point is just not smart. Just not smart. There is a lot of time on the field that it takes, time under tension, to reveal what a player truly is. We know very, very little. We've seen him play in 2 preseason games, have 1 NFL start, and play in half of a meaningless game in Week 18. And now a preseason game. That is a scant sample size. So just look, there are people that are listening, that follow me on Twitter, that just think I'm in the tank for Jordan Love, and so I'm going to compliment all of it, and I'm going to make excuses for him and all this stuff. I think that would make me a bad evaluator. I think it would make me a bad analyst if I approach the game that way, because as I've said a million times on this show, and people, longtime listeners of this show, know and are probably sick of hearing me say it, I want to be right. And being right is about context. It's about being right in the moment, not about a take that I had 2 weeks ago. If I'm seeing something, I want to be right about what I'm seeing, which means if I'm evaluating something right now, then I want to be right about what that evaluation is, or at least the closest to right. I mean, all these evaluations are subjective. So, the interceptions, 3 interceptions in this game. 1 was his fault. The first one on the throw to Tyler Davis, it hits him in the hands. Hits him in the hands on a slant in the red zone. Jordan Love moved into the 49ers territory on 5 of 6 drives. Moved the ball on every single drive, basically. That was a turnover. The Romeo Doubs interception, which I still don't understand how there was enough evidence to overturn that. It looked like Doubs still had the ball on the ground. He should be down, technically, I think, by the rules, but no one knows what a catch is, so it was ruled interception, again, for reasons that don't make sense. That is certainly not on Jordan Love. Romeo Doubs had the ball and lost it going to the ground. You can say the ball could have been more outside. I actually think it was a really good throw, high and away from the defender. I think reasonable people can disagree on that, but the moral of the story is Doubs had it. It should have been caught. You want to quibble about the throw? Fine. Doubs caught it. He had it and couldn't complete the catch. That's not Jordan Love's fault. The swing routes. This is something that is Matt LaFleur mentioned on Sunday at his press conference. Those are going to be throws that he wants back. I don't think they were all, like the Goodson one was bad. The first one, I think the next 2 were okay. And I think one of them was actually a drop. Pro Football Focus had 4 drops for the Packers in this game. Romeo Doubs had 1. Tyler Davis had those. And then I think Doubs actually had 2, because if you consider the PBU interception a drop, which it probably should be, that's 2. Jordan Love made an incredible play rolling to his left on a boot, outrunning Jake Jackson to the sideline, throws the ball to Romeo Doubs. It's a miss. Overall, a lot of good. And Matt LaFleur said that. He said he was pleased. He said the decision-making was good. He mentioned the flat throws as throws that Jordan Love would probably like to have back. I don't think overall the accuracy was a problem. And he made some really nice throws, some really nice plays. The throw on the run to Doubs, beautiful throw. The touchdown throw to Doubs, awesome throw. And that was, and I did a thread of all the throws on Twitter, but that was doubly nice for this reason. That's 4th down. He goes on, I don't know if it was 2 or 3, but he has a dummy cadence to get the defense to show. They show the blitz. He knows, okay, it's not too high. It looks like single high, so he throws the slot fade. They had mirror slot fades, or smash fades, but slot fades. And it ended up being a 0 blitz that they had blocked up. Jordan Love knows the ball has to come out quick because he knows that safety is at least coming down, if not coming on the blitz. It's a beautiful throw, touchdown. Don't let anyone tell you that that was a defensive mistake. That's cover 0. They just got out leveraged. Romeo Doubs ran a great route. He got free. That's a touchdown. Similar situation with the Danny Davis score. They're driving. That was the drive where he had 2 swing throws that he missed. Back shoulder fade, touchdown. That's a great play. Had a terrific 3rd and long conversion to Samori Toure on a secondary read. Poised in the pocket, stood in there, got to a second read. He throws to the right guys. Consistently throws to the right guys. That's a mental thing. And I think we saw in this game the pre-snap processing. Seattle threw some stuff at him. They blitzed him. They mixed coverages. They disguised coverages. He used his cadence well to get them to try and show. And in fact, they stopped doing some of the disguises as the second quarter wore on because he was getting them to show it early. And some of that is just getting more experienced. And he said that. He needs to get better at identifying the blitz and those kinds of things. I said on Twitter, I give the performance a B. I think that's right. We're seeing the flashes. We're seeing the really good stuff. It's still just those misses. It's the swing route. No, were those going to be big plays? No. Would they have changed the box score in meaningful ways? No. But you just feel a little bit better about it all if those are accurate. One other thing that I need to bring up here. On the interception to Amari Rodgers, Matt LaFleur confirmed Rodgers read the coverage wrong, ran the wrong route. Someone else ran the wrong route. And Rodgers, if he runs the right route, probably open. They probably get a chance at a big play and a conversion. But Jordan Love can't make that throw in that situation, given what happened. Now, I still think it was a situation where he's got the defenders back to him. He thinks he can throw Amari Rodgers open. He's trying to anticipate a window being there. The defender makes a nice play. To me, this is tip of the hat. Matt LaFleur said what should have happened when he runs the wrong route, probably, is you go off schedule. Okay, it's not there. Now you got to make a play, whether with your legs, and Jordan Love showed some nice things with his legs, or try and buy some time and make a throw. And this is something Jordan Love is awesome at. It was something he was awesome at Utah State. It was part of why he was getting the Patrick Mahomes comparisons, because he could make plays on the run that few other quarterbacks could make. We haven't seen that. We haven't seen it basically at all. And I sympathize with Jordan, because he's trying to learn this footwork. And he's trying to play a more polished brand of football. And so he's trying to go 1, 2, 3, bang. He's taking the coaching and trying to play on time, trying to play on rhythm. But in that situation, it needs to be, okay, just go play. How do they find that balance? And how much of that is Jordan Love saying, I need to find that balance? How much of that is Matt LaFleur saying, I need to encourage Jordan and Adam Stenavich now and Tom Clements? If the play breaks down like that, go make a play. That's the last step in the evolution, I think, for him, is rather than trying to die with the play design and play perfectly. Forget perfectly, just go play. And I think part of that is internalizing the details and feeling like, you know all the concepts, you know all the adjustments. I think he's becoming more and more comfortable with more reps, with more playing time. Maybe he'd get there. I think that's what it's going to take for him in his development. I don't want to say this is the best version of Jordan Love we're going to see, because I think he can play a cleaner game. But I think until he gets actual reps and gets comfortable with, okay, I just need to go out and play, then that's going to hold him back from reaching his full potential, because his full potential includes this whole menu of off-schedule stuff, of off-platform stuff. And I think that is really what has a chance, at least, to separate him. Now, he's still trying to get the fundamental stuff down. That's the problem. He's still trying to make sure he's got the weight transfer on the swing throws. And making sure you're getting those accurate throws. But when you need to be a playmaker, how do you get out of your own head on 1, 2, 3 or 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, bang? It's going to be tough. It's going to be tough. All right, we're going to talk about the offensive and defensive line here as we finish up. BetOnline is the fastest and easiest way to check on all your betting needs. Find your favorite sports and events, the #1 online source for odds, lines, and games. Find reviews and news of every league, including Major League Baseball, NFL, NBA, NHL, combat sports, esports, golf, BetOnline continues to be the top online resource for all of your sports wagering information, from live in-game betting, scores, and podcasts. They have you covered. Head to BetOnline or use your mobile device to learn more about the trends in action. BetOnline, where the game starts. And thanks for making Locked On Packers your first listen. Now make your second listen Locked On Fantasy Football. Find the intellectual fantasy expert Vinny Iyer, who brings over 20 years of NFL expertise at a unique angle to give you the moves no one else has. Get ready for your fantasy draft with Locked On Fantasy Football. Lastly here, I thought the offensive line held up remarkably well, but it was a lot of quick game. They had some issues on 3rd and short. This was going to be a much more fun conversation before we found out Elgton Jenkins is coming back. He solves so many problems right away. So Zach Tom seems to have played his way into a chance to get some more opportunities. I was surprised at how good Jake Hansen looked. Rice Newman was okay. Josh Myers, awesome. I thought JRJ was really good. And Yosh Nijman was fine. Defensively is where it's really exciting. It's really exciting because I thought Jonathan Ford, 7th round pick, did some nice things. Chris Slayton, who's been a little bit of a camp darling, did some nice things. TJ Slayton had some really nice plays. Jack Heflin had some really nice plays. These are all backup players. Like Ford and not TJ Slayton and Heflin were nothings last year in the NFL, at least in the case of Jonathan Ford, because he was not in the NFL. And yet they're in there making plays. And some of these 49ers that they were going up against, the Trey Lance-led offense, had real starters. Like real offensive starters. It was not dissimilar from what Green Bay did, where those are your real guys out there. That they were able to get some production, create some pressure on Lance, get stops in the run game. That's real. Add in Devontae Wyatt, Kenny Clark, Jaron Reed, Dean Lowry to that group. That can be a really, really, really good group. Also, JJ Enagbare, Kingsley Enagbare, it seems to be he's going back and forth on what he wants to be called. Had a sack, had another pressure, I think had a TFL in the run game. He is someone who has apparently not done much in camp. But he's an effort player. He's an energy player. And yeah, he's got some nice technique, but he's gonna get after on want to. And he had more than that in this game. Had a really nice bull rush. Got a pressure, dipping and bending the edge. Was not able to get to the QB on that one. But that was not something in his arsenal that we saw a lot at South Carolina, where he's bending the edge, dipping and bending. But he did it. We were wondering, okay, who is that third edge going to be? Is it Jonathan Garvin? Is it Tipa Naliai? Is it Ladarius Hamilton? Is it Randy Ramsey? Well, after one preseason game, the third best edge, the best edge who played, was Enagbare. Go back and listen to the episode Kelly Price did with us on the rookie orientation with Enagbare, and she was really great. He is a great kid. Be excited about this one. This front is so deep. It's so talented. It's fun. It's going to be fun. Quay Walker didn't play a bunch, so not a lot to see there. And Devontae Wyatt, as I said, didn't play. I'm not worried at all about what happened in the passing game. Mostly none of those guys are going to play. Shimon John Charles, I thought was one of the few bright spots in the secondary. Maybe he's cornerback 4. If he is, maybe you feel a little bit better about it than you did 6 months ago. We'll see. We'll learn a lot this week. I think this week will be a big test for that group of backups. The 49ers were getting a little cute with it, running mills and double moves and really trying to do stuff. Yeah, they wanted to win. That's one way to go, I guess. So I'm not worried about any of that when it comes to the Packers' actual defense. All right, we're going to be back tomorrow. It's Saints week. So a lot to get to this week. I I'm going to try and get my buddy Ross Jackson, who's in Green Bay, but who covers the Saints, on the show this week to give us a little bit of insight on the boots on the ground sort of reporting there. And then another game. So a lot more fun to have this week. Follow me on Twitter, Peter_Bukowski. Follow the podcast on Twitter, Locked On Packers. Like us on Facebook. Subscribe to the podcast, iTunes, Spotify, Google Podcasts, wherever you find podcasts, you will find Locked On Packers. And anytime you want to hit us up on the Locked On Packers fan hotline, you can do that, 920-341-3775 to stay Locked On Packers.